Hello, this is Randy Wooden, and this is from the Wooden Desk. We're going into episode 7 on talking about new levels of leadership as it deals with some of the primary challenges that most leaders are facing as it deals with trying to go to the next level. I want to believe for the extraordinary. I want to go where I believe God has ordained each of us to go. But I realize it doesn't happen. It's something we have to be very intentional and strategic in our thought processes, our planning, all the things that we do to be the leader that we need to be. With all that said, we've talked about the challenges of new leadership and the new having to have new people who can become leaders. We've talked about new pains in the journey. We've talked about new places we find ourselves and new places we want to take our organization to. We talked about new perspectives and getting perspective in a different way, and bringing new people and new voices into our scope of influence so that we can learn and we can continue to gain perspective. In the last episode, we talked about new priorities, knowing what is most important. But also, I believe another challenge is that all leaders are engaged in new priorities. You might say, or not new priorities, but new passions. New passions talks about your passion. Sometimes if we are transparent, there are times that we are just going through the motions with the call that we have in what we're doing, but yet there's not a lot of passion. I realize that passion is one of those areas that I can't give you. I can't teach you passion. I can tell you where it comes from, and it comes from that wellspring of, I believe, that God gives from the calling and the purpose that it begins to build, and this excitement begins to come, and that excitement begins to produce passion. And I believe passion makes us bigger than what we are. It attracts people that we would not necessarily attract, and it helps us to I really believe, begin to move any organization into a place of momentum. I remember my early years of pastoral work. I'll be quite honest with you. I was very uneducated at that time. I had I had only preached very few sermons prior to going into pastoral work, and here is a young man with 2 kids and a wife, and here I was. I did the best. I felt sorry for my first congregation because they had to listen to an unlearned kid who is struggling. But the one thing I had that probably helped that ministry to triple in attendance was to have passion. Man, I had passion off the yang, and I was so passionate. Sometimes my passion would get me in trouble. But I really believe we need new passion for today, because I believe the thing that is going to get us through all the junk that's going on in our culture is people who, when they speak with passion. We could call that a lot of things. That's a gift from God. It's the anointing of God. It is the ability to articulate with great fervor. And so I think it's important for us to realize. Solomon said in Colossians, or in Ecclesiastes 3:1, it says, there is a time and for everything, a season for everything under the sun. I believe dreams that were compelling to you at one time now are losing their intensity. And that's happened to all of us. It is typical for visionary leaders to become comfortable with the status quo. We've talked about mediocrity already a little bit in an earlier episode, but I think it's important for us to realize we cannot become content and comfortable. We have got to and if we've lost our passion, we have got to go back to where we found it. It may be in a time of personal regimen of going back to a time, making sure you're keeping your time with God and your devotions, but yet just simply, being regenerized spiritually and emotionally. I realize so many times some people lose passion just because they've poured themselves out, and they look at the dashboard, or they don't look at the dashboard of some of the gauges, and they realize the spiritual gauge or the emotional gauge is at E. It's empty. And yeah, what happens? You become numb. You become, just totally poured out. And I think it's important. We have to keep ourselves recharged. I have another lesson that I haven't done it on the wooden desk, but I've done it at retreats that talks about recharging your batteries. And I talk about supply lines that take and give. And we have to be very careful. We got more intake than we have going out. And I think that's important for all of us. See, when we talk about this area of new passions, we have to put a gifted visionary in an operating environment for too long. And what happens is they are pouring out, and they become restless. And this is true for me. They become bored. They're ready for another challenge. I can get bored real easy, and I need another challenge in something that I'm doing. And it doesn't make me a bad person. I want to be a finisher, and you can ask my wife. I whatever I start, I want to finish it, and I work hard and diligent to finish them. But I'm already usually about halfway through the project. I'm thinking about what am I going to do next, and so that's just part of my makeup and part of my personality. But I think that's important. Not only that, but you must stay aware of when this is happening to you. Visionaries have to learn to slow down and listen to themselves. Activity isn't always progress. I want to say that again. Activity is not always progress. So how do you pay attention? I think it's important for you to write down what are some of the health indicators and some of the unhealth indicators in your own life, and pay attention to those. How do you do that? Maybe it's through meeting with somebody and you're accountable to one another and you're asking each other certain questions. I think when we stop spending time in our devotional time daily, when we stop, doing some of the key things that give us energy, do you do anything for yourself? Do you have a hobby? Is what replenishes you? You have to find out, because so many times we go, and we're giving and we're not slowing down again to for us to listen to ourselves. Not only that, but the next thing is this area of navigating changing passions is easier when we can. And what I mean by that is navigating changing passions is that admit when things have changed. I may have started out and man, last year I was just full of passion, but man, I've had to deal with deaths in my organization. People left. I've gone through some transition. You admit that they've changed. Look for godly discontentment. And what I mean by that is I'm just not fulfilled like I once was. I've lost my joy in what I'm doing. And boy, if we're all honest, that's probably in each of our lives, that's happened at one time or another. Not only that, but when we begin to navigate, I believe, in changing passions, it's easier when we not only admit that things have changed or look at the godly discontent, but we need to, if we are going to leave the organization that we're leaving, we want to leave on a high note. We don't want to leave in a bad way. And sometimes there is a time to leave, or a great book that probably impacted my life was a book entitled Necessary Endings. There is a time that we end a relationship, or we end an area where we have been serving, and it's time to move to our next assignment. So that's another thought. Not only that, but uncovering new passions will reignite the fire within you. I think we have to take time, because if we're a person like I shared in my own life where I can get bored easy, then I have got to continually be adding some kindling and wood to the fire to keep the fire burning. I was reading one comic strip that's talked about, it was Phoebe and I can't remember the other character. And I think it was Phoebe was saying that, man, I'm burnt out. And his buddy says, how can you be burnt out? You've never been on fire. I realize sometimes we're just doing stuff and it's easy to get burnt out. It's easy to get poured out. It's easy. And a lot of times that's just, as I heard a speaker say just a couple weeks ago when I was listening, he made the statement. He said, the reason why people burn out is because they're not doing, no longer doing their purpose. And as a result, they lose passion and they begin to go on this downward spiral. And I thought, boy, that is so good. And that is so true. There's 6 questions for discovering your path. And these are the last questions I'm going to ask, and this is probably going to be one of the shorter episodes, but 6 questions to discovering the path to your passion. First of all, what do I really care about? You know, I have to continually ask, what do I care about? What is my calling? Number 2 is, what makes me pound the table with passion? I mean, literally, what at times gets my blood pressure up, so to speak, in a sense, I'm passionate about this. Sometimes, you know, it almost comes out, others think, well, are you angry? You know, no, I'm not angry. I'm just passionate, you know. But what causes that in you? Can you define that? Not only that, but what do you dream about? I mean, have you quit dreaming? Here I am in my early 60s, and I'm still dreaming. I'm still thinking about how I'm going to fulfill some of my best years and making a difference and pouring into leaders. Number 4 is, where do I get my greatest fulfillment? I think that's very important for all of us. I get my greatest fulfillment when I am standing before a group of leaders or a group of pastors or business leaders, and I'm pouring into them, and I'm seeing light bulbs come on, or I see excitement brought, and I'm helping them maybe through a place that they are in their leadership, whether that's one-on-one across the desk or whether that is in a conference setting, but it's always an area of great fulfillment. Number 5 is, what do I daydream about and what values are at work? You know, when I daydream, what are the values that I'm thinking about and are at work in my mind? And I think that's important. And number 6 is, what have I liked most about what I've done? If I look back and I think about what has been not only the most fulfilling, but what have I liked the most? I think that's always tied to the area of not only what's important, but it is tied to my passion. I think that's important. The jump is so frightening between where I am and where I could be. And because of all I may become, I have to sometimes just close my eyes and leap. I just have to jump and say, okay, I'm going to do this. I want to just tell you, don't allow today's problems and difficulties to rob you of your passion. If you see that happening, take a step back. Take a deep breath. Look up. Begin to examine that it's not that bad. And yes, it may be bad, but maybe it's time for you to just get a different perspective upon where things are in your life and in your organization. I hope this episode has been a help to you. I am excited. We're getting closer to finishing this. I have 2 more key areas I'm going to be talking about. We're going to be finished with this next level leadership, this area of wanting to see the extraordinary as we go higher in our leadership. 2 closing questions I want to leave you, and I hope you and your team can unpack this, or if you're listening to this one-on-one, that I would ask you these questions and we would just dialogue about them. Is, first of all, is, what is the level of your passion right now? From a 1 being almost nothing to a 10. Where are you? I think it's important to ask, where is your passion? The second one is, how important do you think passion is to your ministry? How important do you think passion is to your ministry? So as you examine this and think about this, I pray that there will be some things that will make you realize that passion has to be at the top of the list as leading others. If you're going to be contagious in your leadership, yes, your words and your charismatic gifts may be powerful, but it is passion that ignites fire. And I'm praying that the Lord will just set you on fire with passion. And as you do that with the other areas that we're talking about, I believe that you're going to be unstoppable. It's my prayer that God will enlarge the kingdom in you and around you. Have a great day.